The story begins in the immortal world, in the city of black sand, in the gravel desert. Some people are running because they are being chased by level 3 desert ghost wolves. They run desperately asking for help. The group consists of a level 3 mage, a level 3 cleric, and a level 3 warrior. The blonde girl says they were very unlucky because they only wanted to hunt a level 1 sand scorpion and ran into a pack of level 3 ghost wolves, so she asks what they will do. The leader points forward and says to run to the trees since desert ghost wolves cannot climb, and if they manage to climb, they will have a chance to survive. She says this, but is frustrated inside because she knows wolves are cruel by nature, and when they choose a target, they do not give up until they finish it. To make things worse, she is worried because they are all injured from a fight they had earlier, and the only 2 black metal equipment pieces are broken. Suddenly, the mage falls to the ground, and they all look back frightened because the whole pack is attacking the girl on the ground. She looks back and freezes with fear because there is nothing she can do. At that moment, the wolf is struck by an attack and falls, finished on the ground by a sword. She watches the lifeless monster's body until someone appears, passes by the body, and stands in front of them. Xiaohei is surprised, wondering if that person saved her. Then she decides to check the person's level and realizes it is level 1 and is surprised, meaning the boy is a novice. The MC removes his hood and faces the monsters, saying that level 3 monsters are not that strong. Immediately, the wolves charge and he draws his sword once again and goes to meet the monsters. The wolves jump to attack, but in the blink of an eye, all are sliced by several attacks from the MC. The 3 are surprised to see a boy in front of them defeating all the monsters with ease. The warrior is impressed to see someone finishing 4 desert ghost wolves using only a beginner's sword. At that moment, Xiaohei points forward and shouts that they are facing an even larger pack. They don't understand how this is possible or where so many wolves came from, and speculate that the monsters smelled the bodies of their fallen companions on the ground. The group leader shouts for the MC to run because that is a horde capable of massacring an entire novice village, and emphasizes she is serious since the monsters will tear him apart. He smiles and asks if she is serious. Then he opens his system, and a notification asks if he would like to summon skeleton warriors. He confirms and throws all his summoning cards forward, which, upon hitting the ground, create a huge magic circle. At the same moment, a hand starts coming out of the ground, and several level 3 skeleton warriors appear in the battle. The wolves waste no time and advance, but the MC confidently says he wants to see who will be torn apart first. His army advances at full power, and a fierce battle begins with Lin Yuan massacring the wolves alongside his army, finishing one by one that appear in front of him. He plants his sword in the last wolf, and soon after withdraws it. He managed to finish 16 desert ghost wolves, and thus gained 160 experience points. He obtained 16 wolf fangs, as well as 16 pelts and 16 claws. Some energy balls start coming out of the monsters and head toward the protagonist. The girls, watching from afar hiding, ask if that was a dream, since they saw a novice finish 12 desert ghost wolves alone. At that moment, Xiaohei approaches him and asks if by any chance he is a mage with summoning ability, since she herself is also a mage but has never seen a skill like that. He replies that he is not a mage, and she is surprised, wanting to know what he is. The MC just smiles and stays silent because he has a forbidden class of rank SS. Currently, he is at level 2, and his class is Necromonger, a variant of Necromancer. His talent is Dark Summoner of the Gate of Hell. He has 5 strength, 25 physical, and 30 mental. His name is Lin Yuan from the Blue Planet, and he is a reincarnated. 3 years earlier, scientists detected the emergence of a giant and mysterious planet near the Blue Earth, which became known as the Magic Planet. 3 months after that, an unknown company launched a virtual reality game called Immortal World, which shocked the entire world. By using the virtual reality glasses developed for the game, people chose a class and, when leveling up, gained powers to face monsters inside the game. At first, everyone thought it was just a game, until some players began to awaken the same powers in the real world, and they became known as the Awakened. It was from that moment that a cult called Worshippers of the Evil Stellar God arose. They crossed the barrier between the virtual and the real world and began to massacre people. and the entire city suffered at their hands. MC's parents died in this tragedy. Humanity united all the forces on the planet and fought with everything, but in the end, they were defeated by these awakened, as was Lin Yuan, who also lost his life in the final battle. It was at that moment that MC woke up startled at the exact moment he logged into the game Immortal World for the first time. But unlike before, the system granted him a forbidden SSS rank class called Necromancer, a variant of necromancer. In addition, he also gained 2 SSS rank talents, Shadow Summon and Gate of Hell. At that moment, he could only think that he would get strong as fast as possible to protect his family and save Blue Earth. Back in reality, he was near a wolf, and with his outstretched hand, began to emanate a dark power. The same happened to all the corpses of the desert ghost wolves. The system asked if he wanted to use Shadow Summon on the wolf bodies. He answered yes, and immediately the monsters awakened, already possessed by his ability. He reflected that his class has a unique characteristic that, besides granting him a warrior's physique, also allows him to use Shadow Summon to turn monster corpses into zombies that fight for him. These zombies keep their levels and abilities from when they were alive. In addition, he gained a new skill called Death Body, which makes them immune to most negative effects. He began to use his other skill, and the ground started to crack with his talent Gate of Hell. This allows him to maintain the monsters resurrected with Shadow Summon, and the amount he can store increases with his level. The enormous Gate of Hell appeared and began to open until it completely created the passage for his new army to enter. He, with his new zombies, imagined that if he got strong enough, he could create an unstoppable army of undead. The leader of the girls' team was in disbelief at what she was seeing, and since she understood that he was reviving corpses as zombies, she asked who the hell he really was. MC just replied that it was almost time, and a warning appeared in the sky saying that the world boss giant death wolf was descending on the gravel desert. He thought it was a perfect moment since it was time to hunt the boss. The sky began to thunder louder and louder while other players were hiding. A rift appeared in the sky and grew increasingly dense. 2 players commented that the giant death wolf would soon appear, and because of that, they began to run. One of them said he remembered seeing on the official game site that the attack range of that boss was 50 meters, so they needed to get as far away as possible. Everyone started running like crazy, but one of them was attacked without being able to react. The 2 were scared and hiding, since before them were the massacred bodies of other players near the giant death wolf, which is level 6, has 2,400 health, 360 attack points, and 48 defense. One of the players started screaming because one of the victims was his brother, and the others asked if he was crazy since a solo player couldn't defeat that boss and therefore couldn't let him die for nothing. They were terrified to see the giant death wolf devouring other players, and one of them asked if it was really possible to defeat something so terrifying. Suddenly, they noticed something, and upon seeing the MC walking, asked what the hell he is doing. Lin Yuan walks without any concern, his eyes full of confidence. The players notice the sword and ask if he is also a rookie. His friend replies yes, and further emphasizes that the giant death wolf is a level 6 lord boss, and that without support, even all of them together wouldn't handle it. In the immortal world, monsters are classified from weakest to strongest as normal, elite, leader, lord, king, monarch, and god. Among them, a lord-class monster, even if a level 1 boss, is still a great threat to rookies. The MC finally stops and stands face to face with the boss. The players try to get his attention, asking if he is crazy since if he continues like that, he will die. After all, in front of him is a colossal level 6 wolf. Lin Yuan says that seeing that boss again, he doesn't think it's a big deal. The monster starts drooling blood and immediately uses its skill, Giant Wolf Howl, firing a powerful laser that the MC dodges by jumping back. Once again, the boss advances using its death claw, and only then does the MC stop to think that last time that level 6 giant death wolf was enhanced with boss powers, had 3,400 health and a 510 attack. He also knew that for the desert explorers who were only level 3 at best, they would need a raid to have any chance. Back then, he almost died in that raid. In the present, he sees the claw coming toward him and thinks he has lived another life, fought in numerous bloody battles. So he is no longer the same person. The wolf's paw hits the ground, but Lin Yuan had already dodged by jumping to the side. A player is surprised, as he didn't imagine the MC would be so fast. A notification announces the world boss has entered a state of fury. The MC smiles seeing this, and slams his hand on the ground. A green aura begins to spread across the area and the gate of hell is summoned. The boss is startled because even though it is large, something colossal larger than it appears. The gate begins to open and the MC gives orders, commanding his army of undead to advance. Immediately, his army of wolves emerges from the portal. The players around wonder what kind of gate this is, deducing that the MC transformed countless level 3 desert wolves into zombies. As he advances, he imagines he leveled up to 3 just by killing monsters along the way, and the underworld gate can now store up to 30 monsters. And even thinking he was late, he imagines he had good results. He reflects that according to the aggression system in the immortal world, summoners are more threatening than their summons. So while both are present, monsters will attack the summoner first unless the summon attacks. The zombie wolves advance, but are attacked by the powerful boss. At this moment, one of the wolves howls, and the boss immediately raises its paw to smash it to the ground. At that moment, the MC realizes the time has come, and with a leap, delivers numerous combos to the enemy, taking advantage of the aggression mechanic, as this will draw the boss's attention when it is about to attack the summons, thus reducing unnecessary losses of his monsters. The giant wolf screams furiously and immediately starts chasing him. He keeps running because while the boss is distracted with him, he can order his summons to attack again. He knows it's not much, each zombie wolf causing only 15 damage per hit to a boss with 3,400 health, but he knows little by little he will defeat it. The players watching think it's crazy. The level Lord World boss is struggling. Behind them, 3 guys laugh as if planning to cause trouble. A few minutes later, the MC jumps toward the giant wolf, which has 500 health left. Without wasting time, he locks his sword, causing a critical hit and dropping the boss's health to 80. The monster starts howling but falls to its side on the ground. Lin Yuan begins to approach, since now only the final blow remains. He watches carefully until the previous group jumps, shouting that their chance to land the last blow and the world boss's treasure will be theirs, and they are confident since the MC's army has already been eliminated. He looks back and a distant player shouts to be careful. Without thinking twice, he cuts down the 3 players who were going to steal his last blow, and all fall to the ground like potatoes. The MC calls them fools for trying to do that. The people far away are shocked by what just happened, since a rookie killed 3 level 3 thieves with a single attack. The boss stands up once more, looking at Lin Yuan, but he doesn't waste time and attacks with full force, delivering another critical hit that leaves no chance for reaction. The system informs that the world boss Giant Death Wolf's life has been reduced to 0, and for successfully killing it, he gained 480 experience and a soul gem. He is thoughtful, wanting to know what rewards he will receive for being the first player to finish a world boss. 2 items appear before him, and he takes the first, the soul gem, which contains soul power. After collecting a certain amount of them, he can go to the Eternal Council to exchange them for legendary equipment. He reflects that after level 60, players must go to the Elven Eternal Council to continue evolving, although he is still far from that. However, soul gems are also the simplest way to obtain legendary equipment. In the immortal world, equipment is ranked from lowest to highest as white, black iron, bronze, silver, gold, black gold, epic, legendary, and mythic. Rookies usually only have the lowest level equipment possible, and even black iron is rare. He also remembers that 2 hours before he used knowledge from his past life to attract 2 elite black sand lizards with skeleton warriors, then had the chance to loot the bronze chest they were guarding, and for that, he obtained the bronze level cloak. It was a black lizard tunic, increasing 30 defense, 10 mind, and 10 agility. The system informs that he was the first player to defeat a world boss, and thus obtained the Hunter title. After equipping this title, attack power increases by 10%, critical hit chance by 10%, and common damage by 10%. He is thoughtful, since in the immortal world, titles can grant players various attributes or special effects, and this one has an excellent bonus. Now he is presented with the second reward for being the first to defeat a world boss. The reward was a silver chest. He is surprised and decides to see what it contains. The items he obtained were a silver moon sword that increases attack power by 100 and agility by 10, the Eye of Death, which is an accessory that increases mine by 10 and has a corrosion ray that causes accelerated corrosion damage to the target enemy by 200%, a recovery potion that immediately restores 20% of life and mana upon use. Next, a skill scroll level 1 that increases skill proficiency by 100 points after use. And finally, a monster essence that can be used to make potions or ingested directly, granting 10 more points in strength, physical, agility, and mind attributes after consumption. He sees all the items in his inventory and thinks it was a quality loot since he obtained several items at once, and it was definitely excellent to be the first to defeat a world boss. His experience is being calculated, and he finds it amazing that he jumped from level 3 to almost level 5, and since each level grants 5 free attribute points, he decided to put 3 points in mind and 2 in strength this time. He is currently at level 4 and has indeed evolved into a necromancer. He has the same talents, but now has 10 points in strength, 10 in physical, 25 in agility, and 35 in mind. He thinks it's great as it is since after leveling up his stats are the highest in the entire Shattered Stone Desert. He notices the information that his underworld gate has 0 monsters out of a total of 40 and imagines that even his ghost wolves and zombies died in the fight against the boss. But his level increased and the underworld gate can now open 40 undead. He starts using his necromancy on the boss and a notification asks if he wants to use the summon on the giant death logo. Without thinking twice, he answers yes, and the boss opens his eye, which is now green for being undead, and stands imposingly in front of the MC with the same attributes as when he was alive. The MC observes and imagines he already expected the world boss to have powerful area abilities as well as group control, and even after zombification gained the undead body and a new skill, the fury of the undead, and now he is confident since with the giant zombie wolf, he can replenish his underworld gate much faster. The players are watching from afar, incredulous to see someone turning a world boss into a zombie, and also unsure what that gate is, as it is more frightening than the world boss itself. At that moment, Lin Yuan looks back and immediately all players hide in fear. Only then does he realize people are still nearby. Furthermore, he sees a tier black iron sword dropped and realizes it was for having defeated the thieves, including a great one for low-level players, although he himself already has the Moonlight Blade. So he picks up the sword from the ground and starts heading toward the other players who quickly get scared of being killed right there. After approaching, the MC goes to a guy and asks if he was the one who shouted during the fight warning to be careful. However, the guy keeps trembling and starts stammering, but Lin Yuan just gives him the sword as a gift, leaving him surprised. Then he leaves thanking him for acting that way. Everyone runs to the player unable to believe he got such a strong sword without doing anything, since a tier black iron weapon is worth tens of thousands of yuans. 10 minutes later, the MC continues walking through the desert until he feels a strange sensation. This, because in reality, the battery of his virtual reality headset ran out and he returned. He thinks he really needs to save to buy a decent game capsule. Then he stares at the game monitor for a moment and reflects that Immortal World is a hyper-realistic total immersion game with entry zones divided by countries. Each zone contains different nations in the game that players can choose. And he gives as an example his region Elpad, which has 4 kingdoms: the Western Desert Kingdom, the Southern Return Empire, the Northern Underworld Empire, and the Tide Archipelago. He is facing the system asking to select the game region. The options are the aforementioned regions, and he, having respond, chose the same as last time. So he clicks on the Western Desert Kingdom. He did this because before dying, he discovered a secret. The place was infested with monsters, and he was defeated on the ground, extremely wounded. At that moment, something approached him that made him widen his eyes, since from inside a portal, some kind of divinities were coming toward him. He observes a yellow jewel on one of the beings, and believes it is the emblem of a guild from the Western Desert, the first believer of the Starry Sky Evil God. He wonders if that is a human player. He reflects since as far as he remembers, that being is the key figure who summoned the evil god to Blue Star, and he finds it strange since there are still 3 years until the divine descent. So if he manages to kill him before maybe he can prevent the tragedy from happening again. The only clue he has is the emblem, since only guilds in the capital of the Western Desert use yellow jewels. And to get to the capital, he needs to reach level 10. So to discover the identity of the rat who caused all this, he needs to level up quickly. He decides to go to his goal and summons a card in his hand, intrigued since he really summoned a skeleton card. In a mortal world, some players can bring their game powers to reality, and these people are called Chosen Ones, also known as Children of Destiny. Each Chosen One has a powerful hidden class and extremely high luck. They are the main force in the fight against the evil gods in the later stages. The MC reflects that in his past life, he did not gain his powers from the game in real life until the catastrophe happened. But in that reality that is happening early, he has already gained quite a lot since he believes the forbidden necromancer class is truly special, but does not know exactly the difference between him and the Chosen Ones with hidden classes. He then looks to the side and goes to the clock to see what time it is. Sometime later, two people are at the table and the MC arrives with delicious food, asking them to eat. The girl says that Lin Yuan worked very hard, and so she asks them not to go without eating. He observes the two, thinking that people realize the value of something after losing it and only then try to make up for it somehow. In his past life, he only spent his time playing games, and people only knew how to say that he was obsessed with those games, and that he would ruin his own life. It was only after the disaster took everything that he finally regretted how ignorant he was. That terrified him. Returning to the present, he asks if Tantan will not return home for dinner since it is Sunday. The girl replies that she will not, since she is preparing for the mock exam and is even taking meals to school. Then she confesses that she is surprised that Yuan learned to cook and apologizes for devouring all the chicken wings since they are tasty. The man tells her not to worry until he looks to the side and sees the MC handing over another chicken wing, and with a smile, says he will learn to prepare more dishes next time. The two are surprised to see this and become emotional. From that moment on, he started practicing all kinds of exercises, since if he wants to fully control his game power in real life, he needs a body strong enough to handle it. He stops for a moment to breathe, and looking at his watch, realizes he ran 50 meters in 5.5 seconds, and although not bad, still needs to improve. Then he decides to return to his training. After a while, he enters the Drunken Stones desert in the game. A shadow begins to pass by him, and looking to the side, he notices several giant birds in their direction. This is the level 2 Howling Bird. It has 40 health, 20 attack power, and 2 defense. Because they are so weak, the MC easily takes care of all of them. He regrets having dropped only 15 experience, but keeps watching since those monsters have another use. Sometime later, his new zombie birds begin to fly over the place until a huge pack of wolves appears. The MC, coming from afar, realizes it is no coincidence that the birds are favorite targets of the shadow wolves of the desert, since just a few hits were enough to attract an entire pack. He opens his potion and starts to drink monster essence, and since it is made like that, his attribute points increase by 10. He advances since he needs to take advantage of this chance, because the wolves are also coming toward him, but since he is much stronger, he begins slicing them like cheese, instantly defeating 4 wolves. The monsters keep attacking, but he continues killing one by one, already having defeated 10 monsters without being touched. He notices more and more monsters arriving until he is finally completely surrounded by dozens of them. He grips his sword firmly, since he found the timing perfect, and instantly starts slicing them one by one, defeating 20 wolves and then 30. After managing to kill 40 of these wolves, the system congratulates him for reaching level 5. He forms his new army of zombie wolves and sends them to the Gate of Hell, since he managed to fully supply the gate with just 2 battles. He is now at level 5 with 50 monsters inside the gate, in addition to having 22 strength, 20 defense, 45 agility, and 48 mind. He thinks that with the essence bonus in all 4 main attributes, he might be able to face elite monsters of the same level alone. So looking at the horizon, he thinks it is finally time to find a certain person. Meanwhile, in the Black Sand City, the MC is walking calmly until he reaches a door and enters the establishment. A man who is in the house asks who it is. This is Quincy, magic instructor from the city Black Sand. Lin Yuan says he is here to learn new skills. In the immortal world, most skills are obtained by defeating monsters or opening treasure chests. But besides that, each class has an initial instructor who teaches basic skills. The MC says that this guy was his mentor in his past life. Quincy says he is happy since apparently he will earn money for drinks in the coming weeks. Linyuan reflects that he was a mage in his past life, and since he is currently a necromancer, which is even a forbidden class, he doesn't understand well how it works, but believes that by the battle style, it is still a magic class. He hands over his money, saying he wants to learn Soul Flame, Healing, and Invisibility. He knows that before unlocking the necromancer's exclusive skills, he must learn the basic mage spells. Quincy accepts the money, since that is what he likes most, and after checking everything is right, he starts using his magic, asking his new apprentice to give his best, also wishing that the glory of mages shines through him. Immediately, the skills are transferred to the MC. The system congratulates him for obtaining the mage profession skill 3 times. He also obtained Soulfire, which causes mage damage multiplied by 100%, costs 10 mana, and has a cooldown of 10 seconds. The second skill was Healing, which casts healing on a target recovering 10% of health. It costs 10 mana and has 3 minutes of cooldown. Finally, Invisibility, which makes him enter stealth mode for 5 seconds, costs 10 mana and has 3 minutes of cooldown. He watches the new skills he has, since the flame will be his ranged attack, and the healing will keep him alive as well as his allies. And basically, invisibility will be for emergencies. However, he knows these are just basic skills, and if he wants to get stronger, he will have to go after resources. Because of this, he decides it is time to farm. After that, to the east of Black Sand City in the Black Sand Mountains, he arrives at the cobalt mine. The MC already knows kobolds are level 5 monsters living in nearby caves and have the ability to detect enemies in the dark. This type of monster is treacherous and lives in large groups, usually more than 100 per tribe. He concludes they are the ideal target to train his undead army. To start his attack, he drinks his night vision potion, which grants the player a vision radius of 3 meters in dark environments and lasts 30 minutes. He also summons the Gate of Hell to call his undead wolves, and since he knows he can gain levels besides it being a great chance to improve Soul Flame and Invisibility, and if lucky find treasure chests as well, Linyuan starts entering the cave with his army, and they go deeper, and after walking for 15 minutes, he finally senses something. In the dark, he notices something moving, and for that, he throws the torch he was carrying in his hand, which lights up the dark place showing monsters nearby. The kobolds immediately open their eyes and charge the attack now that they are disturbed. The torch falls to the ground, and all undead wolves charge the attack as well as the MC, who orders to kill everyone, leaving no one escaping. The monsters advance fiercely, but at the start, 2 are taken down. The battle continues, and more kobolds are defeated. The MC realizes the monsters are not very strong, and only tells his army to be careful with their shovels. At that moment, several monsters surround him, and he takes the chance to use his invisibility, making his enemy miss the hit without even knowing how. Then he appears behind them, and with a single blow kills all monsters around him, finishing by killing 20 kobolds. After finishing his kills, he notices that his invisibility proficiency increased, but even happy with that, he does not like one thing since those monsters are very weak, so farming on them is slow. Now his army also consists of a level 5 kobold zombie miners. He ordered everyone to advance, since they are the new substitutes for the zombie wolves, and commands them to find the boss of that dungeon quickly. They start walking until they reach a place with several paths. He watches for a moment until he hears some noises coming from a certain direction, which excites him. With the attack of his flames, he defeats several mud slimes that were hiding. Suddenly, another monster appears out of the darkness, and without thinking twice, he appears on the battlefield. This is the elite kobold supervisor. He is level 6, and his main skills are digging and whip. The MC reflects that since the beginning of time, the law of nature has never changed because the strong always hunt the weak. However, even predators are part of the food chain and sometimes become prey. In short, danger lurks in every shadow, and no one is safe no matter how strong he is. No sooner does he think this than he receives a blow from the supervisor that raises dust throughout the cave. He knows that even at a disadvantage, prey can silently appear and attack the hunter, and he sees exactly that situation. So, raising his arm, he grabs the whip coming toward him, and holding it tightly, pulls the monster as if it were a pebble and throws it far away, sliding across the ground until it finally repositions itself. However, he barely has time to look forward, and the MC slashes through its body, thus securing a kill on the kobold supervisor. The monster is sliced into pieces until it finally falls to the ground. He looks back and realizes that a surreal number of monsters is approaching. The system warns that the supervisor has activated the whip skill, which causes the mine workers to enter a bloodthirsty state. This state increases attack speed by 40% and movement speed by 25% for 60 seconds. Lin Yuan starts counting and notices that in front of him there are 50 monsters, but he thinks the army on both sides is more than evenly matched. Because of this, he summons his entire army, including the giant wolf that was a world boss. He says the game is finally going to start and orders the hunt to begin. The battle between the zombie wolves and the kobold begins, and the massacre happens on both sides. At this moment, the giant wolf activates its fierce howl, and the stun effect hits the nearby kobold directly. The MC sees the opportunity and sends his entire army to attack without mercy. He starts by taking down 5, then quickly turns to 10, then 20, and when he notices, he has already defeated 40 kobold supervisors and therefore reaches level 6. Without wasting time, he activates his necromancer skill to turn the corpses into his allies. Now, he also has the zombie kobold supervisors on his side. Some monsters, seeing that things are not looking good, begin to flee, but he finds it funny and, without hesitation, finishes off all those around him. However, a sudden attack comes in his direction, and he narrowly dodges it by jumping backward. The attack was made by the kobold boss, who is level 7 and has 1,000 health, 150 attack, and 80 defense. The MC says he has been waiting for this moment. The fight begins with the boss delivering a powerful blow with his hammer, the force of which was so great that it got embedded in the wall. He notices that the opponent can't pull it out, so he advances. Knowing this is his chance, he strikes his first attack, which only grazes the armor, and is forced to retreat because, as expected, it wasn't enough to even make a scratch. The boss finally manages to pull out his weapon, and the MC is startled by how fast it was. Immediately, he strikes the ground, and due to the impact, Lin Yuan is sent flying backward until he finally manages to stop with his feet. He reflects that, as expected, the attack patterns of a boss are not as simple as those of elite monsters, and even realizes that the strength is 2 or 3 times greater than that of an elite. He activates his magic since he intends to attack from a distance to maintain good performance. All the zombies enter the battle surrounding the boss. The giant zombie wolf makes its first charge, but the boss counterattacks using his skills. The MC keeps up the pressure and commands all his wolves to attack at once. After managing to apply pressure, the group skill Wrath of the Undead is activated, increasing attack power by 10% and critical hit chance by 20%. With that, their attacks become more powerful to the point that the kobold boss feels it and even screams in pain from the continuous damage he's receiving. After taking some damage, the MC activates his fire spirit magic and launches several of them at once, completely blowing up the area where the boss was, since he remembered that the boss's magic resistance is very low. The monster, though injured, charges forward without thinking twice, but he activates his invisibility skill and appears behind the monster, stating that he will no longer hold back. Then he aims right at the neck, since it's unarmored flesh, and drives his sword in with all his strength, trying to push it deeper and deeper. The boss, even while strongly feeling the attack, manages to counterattack, forcing the MC to retreat. However, he doesn't waste time, and, after snapping his fingers, he holds firmly onto the giant wolf and begins moving on its back while all the others attack at the same time. As the battle progresses, he realizes that the armor is breaking, and channeling more fire spirits, he fires everything at once, believing it will be enough to kill it. The boss starts roaring after receiving an attack of that magnitude. That roar was also a command to summon all the other kobolds from the cave, and the MC finds this interesting since it's more experience for him. The massacre begins, with the number of kobolds killed rising quickly. Meanwhile, The boss is trying to use the distraction to escape, but it's useless since Lin Yuan appears in front of him, asking if he really thinks he'll get away. He grips his sword tightly and, with a single movement, strikes the kobold's head clean off, which goes flying from the body. After this kill, the system congratulates him for defeating the kobold boss and awards him 50 experience points for it. He decides to check the system and notices that he has leveled up to level 7. He thinks it's amazing since his Hellgate can now hold 70 undead, and he currently has 27 strength, 23 stamina, 45 agility, and 50 spiritual power. He is aware that he is getting closer to reaching level 10 and finally being able to go to the main city of the Western Desert. He decides to check his stealth technique and the spirit flame, as their mastery has been completed and both have leveled up to level 2. Now, the stealth technique lasts for 10 seconds, and the spirit flame deals magic damage to the target equal to 200% of the damage. While reviewing this information, something catches his attention as a treasure chest dropped from the boss. He decides to check what it is and opens the chest. He obtained a kobold leather pouch, an inextinguishable torch, a skull mask, the shadow gloves, and, in addition, opened the kobold leather pouch which had 20 gold coins. He grabs all the gold in his hand, knowing that soon, major banks around the world will open currency exchange channels between the real world and the game world, and those 20 gold coins are worth 200,000 yuan in real currency, and he knows that's already a lot. Furthermore, the inextinguishable torch grants the player night vision with a range of up to 3 meters in dark environments with no time limit. The skull mask, once equipped, reduces physical damage by 5%, increases stamina by 10, and strength by 10. He also picks up the gloves and sees that they match the strength of the kobold boss's body. They also increase defense by 30 and attack by 30. He considers himself very lucky for having obtained a silver-grade weapon from a bronze treasure chest and can't wait to test the gloves, which are said to be as tough as the kobold boss himself. Meanwhile, near the cave, a hero stands before countless dead phantom wolves. This is Fei Long, leader of the Bloodscar Guild. He is a level 8 warrior. He thinks it's amazing that their training was effective since they took down 30 desert phantom wolves in 1 minute. Fei Hu, who is the guild's vice leader, agrees, saying that if they continue working together, they'll be unbeatable. Other players around comment that they expected nothing less from the guild leader and vice leader, as they managed to defeat so many monsters at once. The blonde guy says he's furious since they lost the first world boss kill to Lin Yuan, and emphasizes that no other guild would dare act arrogantly in front of them. He remembers when the world system announced that the player, Lin Yuan, had defeated the giant wolf. Fei Hu says he doesn't know if it was luck or what it was, but he's eager to teach the MC a lesson. The leader makes it clear that they can't act rashly as it would end badly, and says he believes Lin Yuan's strength is considerable and therefore thinks it's smarter to make that person an ally instead of an enemy. Then, he starts walking again, saying that as far as he knows, there's a kobold dungeon nearby and will confirm the location while everyone rests to recover energy. Fei Hu remains silent since he's frustrated with everything that happened, and so he yells for Lin Yuan to wait for him, warning that one day he will rip out all his teeth and his head, showing that he is relentless. A blushing member of the guild asks the vice leader not to be angry since something very beautiful is in front of them. He doesn't understand what he's talking about and turns to see what it is, coming face to face with a beautiful woman. Everyone gets excited since they found someone alone. The MC finally leaves the cave, and after analyzing the information about his new kobold, he realizes that with the addition of a powerful boss-level zombie, the number of zombie beasts at the gate of the underworld was restored to 70, and it will be interesting to maintain this pace. Suddenly, a noise catches his attention, and he sees the gorgeous woman asking the bandits not to approach her, since otherwise, she won't be polite. Fei Hu and his guild get closer and closer. They can only imagine it's their lucky day since they didn't expect to find such a pretty girl. Fei Hu asks her not to be nervous since it's just to play with them because it's more interesting to enjoy than to suffer. His colleague agrees, reinforcing that if she serves the vice leader of the guild well, she will receive many rewards. She keeps asking them not to come any closer, and because of that, the blonde guy kicks her in the head. Then he grabs her hair and tells her to stop being naive since there's nothing she can do, and even provokes her to try to attack. He makes a creepy face and gets more and more excited as she resists, and because of that, he starts tearing her clothes. At that very moment, he takes a punch to the face that throws him to the other side of the desert due to how powerful it was. Everyone in the guild is in shock since that was the vice leader, and the impact against the wall was so strong that a dense dust cloud rose with the impact while his body is shattered against the huge rock. The MC, who had thrown the punch, just thinks it wasn't bad at all, even though it was softer than he expected. A guild member runs off since he needs to find a way to notify the guildmaster. At the same time, the others ask who the boy is, also making it clear that he offended the Bloodscar Guild and therefore will die. Lin Yuan looks straight ahead and realizes that it's the emblem of the Bloodscar Guild, the #1 in the novice village of Black Sand City during the early days in the immortal world. Most of its members are red-named players who commit all kinds of evil, and all of them represent danger to other players. These red-named people are those who, due to malicious acts, such as attacks, thefts, and robberies, are dangerous players judged by the system as having sin points of 10 or more, and although the evil god has not invaded yet, dead players don't cause real-life death. However, they lose equipment and levels which will cause major problems for players in the future. Knowing all this, he asks if those guys really are from Bloodscar. Internally, he imagines that those rats caused him many problems in his past life. The members look at each other, and one of them answers that it's exactly that since they are the famous guild from Black Sand, and reinforces once again that he offended the vice leader by attacking him. He grabs his own arm and warns that if he doesn't want to have a horrible death, he should break his own arms and then kneel, begging for forgiveness. The MC, without much patience, attacks with everything and cuts off the arms of the two players who start to panic on the ground. He says he will keep the arms of the defeated since they should save their barking for the road to hell. The woman who was witnessing everything can't believe how strong the MC is. After a while, Fei Hu wakes up and immediately takes a potion that heals 20% of his life. He gets up extremely furious and warns that death will be too little for whoever attacked him. The man returns with the guildmaster where everyone was. Their arrival draws the MC's attention, who turns to see who it is. The brat points, saying that the one responsible for attacking the vice leader is right ahead. Fei Long prepares his axe, but while holding it, he notices something. He notices that the player's eyes were indifferent and cold, yet imposingly imposing. Furthermore, he notices that they are like swords forged under the moonlight, shining with a cold light that could cut anything, and the aura he was feeling was so overwhelming that it suffocated him just by being nearby. The guild member starts provoking the MC, calling him a fool, and making it clear that he will die there. However, the guild leader knows the situation is not good, as the aura he's feeling, plus the sword he saw, makes him believe it was dropped from a boss-level monster, and because of that, he firmly believes the player in front of him is Lin Yuan. He gets internally irritated, as out of all the people they could have provoked, they went and did it with the strongest one possible. The MC asks if the one there is the guild leader. He just holds his axe since there's nothing else he can do and believes the battle is inevitable. At that moment, someone jumps toward the MC and the girl screams desperately, warning that someone is behind him. Fei Hu yells for him to die already. The leader also takes the opportunity, since they're attacking as a group, and warns that making Bloodscar Guild an enemy is the worst decision someone could make in life. With that, both attack at the same time until Fei Long stops in shock as a giant monster appears behind the MC, and with a macabre smile, it swings its hammer and hits the vice leader square in the stomach, sending him flying like a rocket. At the same time, Lin Yuan goes toward the leader and says it's his turn to get beaten. Then, with a single move, he cuts the guy in half, who falls to the ground like sliced potatoes. He states that even though they're the #1 guild, they're not even qualified to make him fight seriously. At that moment, the system alerts that he eliminated a human player, and because of that, his sin value increased by 2 points. He sees the alert and thinks that as long as he doesn't accumulate too many points within a week, they'll disappear automatically, so it's fine. The woman says the rest of the group fled and asks if they should follow them. He replies that they're just losers, so there's no need to worry. At that moment, the defeated players start to disappear and their items are dropped. First, the explosive battle axe. Its effect is that upon hitting a target, it triggers a powerful explosion, dealing area damage to the target and nearby enemies, as well as increasing attack by 40 and strength by 30. Next, the cross-dragon fang blade dropped. Its effect is that upon hitting a target, it releases flames. The flames cling to the target, causing continuous damage. It also increases agility by 30 and attack by 40. Lastly, the spiky attack drop, which increases attack by 15 and agility by 20. He reflects that the stats of the dropped weapons are very good, and even though he can't use them, he always has the option of selling them for a good price. At that moment, the woman approaches, blushing, and thanks him for saving her and asks for his name. He pauses to think about it and replies that one day she will see his name at the top of the global ranking. She is surprised since he's referring to the top 10 players in the world, and because of that, she runs after him, saying she doesn't care about rankings and all she wants is for him to carry her. After that, the MC continues walking through the desert until a monster appears behind him and several level 6 Thunder Lament Scorpions jump toward him. He positions himself and begins slicing each one that tries to get close, but with his colossal power, he takes care of them all very easily. He defeated a total of 60 Thunder Scorpions, and because of that, his level increased to 8. He realizes that reaching this level was quite easy, and although it was hard to collect the paralyzing herb, he believes the reward was at least unexpected. 2 days before, he had met someone. The monocle indicates that he was waiting for him. Because of that, a quest from the alchemist Emor was detected. The name of the quest is Imor's Will, and it is necessary to go to the Lamenting Desert to collect 10 paralysis herbs and deliver them to Emor. The time limit is 1 day, and this plant has thunder properties that grow in the desert. Lin Yuan stops to think that after a while a special dungeon will open in the main city, and the dungeon in question is full of monsters with the thunder attribute, and to clear it, extremely high thunder resistance will be necessary. Because of this, the powerful potion that grants electric resistance will be in high demand and could be worth tens of thousands of gold coins. And he also remembers that someone in his past life made a huge profit from it. Also, after completing the mission to collect the paralyzing grass, it will be possible to obtain a recipe for the electric resistance potion. He looks at Emor since he is aware that it is his first day in the Black Sand, and, after completing that mission, the NPC will enter permanent seclusion. In other words, that is the only way for a player to obtain the recipe and the only possible chance. And because of this, he accepts the mission. Back in the present, the MC continues defeating all the monsters that appear. He knows that the Thunder Wailing Scorpion is a level 6 Thunder Beast guarding the paralyzing grass, and at his current level, that guy does not pose any threat. He goes to the grass and decides to make the most of the opportunity to maximize his proficiency in the gathering skill he recently learned. Gathering is at level 2, and because of this increases gathering speed with a 5% chance to collect rare quality herbs. It consumes 1 spirit point and has a 3-second cooldown. After some time gathering, he feels a strange tremor growing stronger. Suddenly, something emerges from the sand and almost hits the MC, who stepped back at the last second. He is startled looking ahead as multiple danger alerts are triggered in his system. He is facing the Crystal Demonic Thunder Scorpion, which is level 10, has 2,800 GP, 400 attack, and 55 defense. He smiles, finding it interesting for something like that to appear out of nowhere, and charges himself knowing it will be quite difficult due to the level difference. His first attack hits the monster's powerful armor directly, but is not enough to cause significant damage. He stands atop the monster until the scorpion begins activating its lightning ability, and the MC starts feeling intense pain since he cannot withdraw his embedded sword. However, he realizes he is about to be stung by the scorpion and jumps at the last second, retreating as far as possible to avoid another hit. He notices that the strength of that scorpion is greater than expected and prepares himself as it comes at him full force. Because of this, he activates his Hellgate skill, and all his zombie monsters appear to join the battle. His Kobold Chief lands the first hit, and the MC is displeased for not having triggered the double critical hit. At that moment, the Chief activates his skill that completely destroys the ground where the monsters were, throwing them all into the air. The MC takes advantage and launches his fireballs, hitting multiple spots simultaneously. He keeps using his combo since his skill level has increased, making it stronger than before. Then he orders his monsters to throw some ropes around the chief's paw and the rest of the body to try to restrain him. The kobold chief then leaps and lands a double critical hit with his hammer, causing colossal damage that even makes the chief scream in pain. At that moment, Lin Yuan jumps and causes the chief to lose sight of him. He gathers energy in his gauntlet, and the system notifies that the player holds the title Slayer Hunter, increasing attack power by 10%, double damage chance by 10%, and magic damage by the same amount. He announces he will break the entire body of that scorpion, and without hesitation strikes the chief's back directly, causing devastating destruction around, and the monster screaming more and more in pain. Due to this attack, the system notifies that the crystal assassin Thunder Scorpion has been successfully eliminated. Instantly, he transforms the creature into one of his zombies, maintaining the same stats as before. At this moment, several other scorpions begin to approach, and this catches the MC's attention, who looks ahead and sees a giant horde approaching. He thinks this situation is excellent and activates his boss's skill since he wanted more experience. Every monster hit by the lightning takes very high damage, and he also does not stand still. As with his sword, he starts slicing all the nearby monsters, always dealing critical damage because of his title, until he realizes he has already made a massacre. The system notifies that he leveled up, and after the slaughter, he finally reached level 10. Now, Lin Yuan is a level 10 Soul Reaper. If the Gate of Hell has a capacity for 100 zombies, his current strength is 32 points, Constitution 28, Agility 47, and Spirit 53. He admits that the feeling of gaining 2 consecutive levels is not bad. Additionally, he also obtained a Lightning Spear, Guardian Greaves, a Paralysis Ring, and a Ghost Bracer. He notices that all the drops were silver level, and if he sells everything, he could significantly improve his parents' lives. A notification warns that the demonic beasts in that area were eliminated, so he obtained a gold skill book specific to his personal skills. A strong glow appears in his hand, and a book appears right in front of him. He realizes that it is the Curse of Darkness. The only condition is that the player's class must be Soul Reaper. The MC realizes he was very lucky, and at the same moment, the skill book is automatically registered in the player's memory. An intense beam of light falls on him, congratulating him for obtaining an exclusive skill of the Soul Reapers, which is the Curse of Darkness. This skill deals damage equivalent to 20% of the target's health, or restores 20% of health to the undead. It costs 100 mana and has a cooldown time of 10 seconds. He activates the skill in his hand, since he does not know exactly how it works, and looking to the side, he sees his giant scorpion is at 60% health. Then, to test, he casts the Curse of Darkness skill directly on his monster, which immediately has its health increased to 80%. The MC reflects that the warm-up is over, as it is time to go to the main city to meet his first believer. However, he feels something strange and already imagines what will happen. It was his stepmother calling him in real life, warning that his father threw some things away and has a lock back. He goes there to help and also asks him not to strain himself too much. The woman warns that he is already at an age where he cannot be doing those crazy things, as he could very well have called a professional to check the air conditioner. He says he was just trying to save some money since it was similar with the washing machine, because he fixed it with some simple adjustments. Then, he asks Lin Yuan not to worry, as he will be fine after one night, but just asks him to remember to pick up little Xiaotan from school the next day. The MC closes the door while thoughtful about this, and the next day, his parents are sleeping until they wake up to a noise. They go to the living room to understand the reason for the loud noise so early, and notice some workers completely renovating their room. Immediately, a worker asks for permission, explaining that those new items were bought by Lin Yuan and that they installed them as quickly as possible. So he asks them to confirm the delivery. The two are just shocked as they are processing what is happening there. At the same time, the MC is training at full speed while admired by the girls since his shape is at its peak. He also continues running on the treadmill until a woman approaches and asks for permission, wanting to know if he is there to sign up for the VIP package, and warns that they will need to charge the upfront fee for 1 year. He replies that it is no problem and hands over his card. Inside, he imagines that he sold some equipment he no longer used, renovated his house, and also earned a gym membership for a family. And he thinks about his parents and Xiaotan, since they also need to start training early so they can adapt as quickly as possible when they enter the immortal world. The woman blushes, admiring the MC, since she saw him exercising for a long time, and he doesn't even seem out of breath. Only then does she notice something and realize that the card is the Supreme VIP, which is issued only to clients with more than 5 million in their bank account. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan is on a call confirming the cash prize he won in a tournament, besides asking them to rest since he himself will go look for Xiao Tan. The woman admires him more and more, since besides being a client, she also found him an incredible young man. Meanwhile, at Xiushui Secondary School, several students are leaving, and a girl is standing waiting. This is Linton, the MC's sister. At that moment, two girls appear gossiping. One of them says it is the older brother's birthday and that they bought a huge cake. The other is surprised and says it must be amazing to have an older brother and that she also wanted to have one. Linlen becomes thoughtful upon hearing this, as she doesn't know if having an older brother is really something to envy, since her only memory is of her brother playing games 24 hours a day, and for that reason, she thinks she doesn't want an older brother. At that moment, a person approaches her, and she realizes it is a group of men. One of them invites her to go out with them, and stresses that he never received a no. She asks what they think they are doing. The girls approach and ask who the boys are. One of them touches Linton and says she has soft skin and wants to see if he can draw some water from her. However, she slaps him, asking him not to touch her. Then she starts to leave, making it clear that if he bothers her again, she will call the police. He becomes furious and slaps her on the back, throwing her to the ground. The other girls are frightened to see the class representative in that state. Then he advances once more, shouting that he is doing her a favor by touching her, and so she should not act like she is powerful. All she does is try to defend herself until someone appears and grabs the guy's arm. Linton opens her eyes and sees that it is Lin Yuan who has arrived. The MC asks who the guy thinks he is to intimidate his sister like that. She is surprised to see her brother in front of her. The guy, irritated, prepares to attack, as do all his gang members who keep shouting they will knock all his teeth out. However, the MC has little patience and starts beating all of them, and whenever he hits one, he goes to the next and beats him as well, to the point of stepping on the face of one that practically buries him in the ground. After beating them all, he calls his sister so they can leave. As they walk, she asks why he is there that day. She says this thinking her brother should be playing all day, and so she doesn't understand why he came to pick her up from school. He replies that their father hurt his back, and so their mother had to stay at home. She is startled by this information and asks if it was serious. He asks her not to worry since it was nothing serious. Then they walk in silence again, and she tries to remember the last time they talked about anything, and so she finds the silence awkward, besides observing how tall and strong her brother is. At that moment, Linton's classmates call the class representative and say they found the MC incredibly kind for picking her up from school. Another says she didn't know she had such a handsome brother and asks why she never mentioned it. Linlin thinks about him being handsome and looking at the MC. She doesn't really understand what they are saying, even though they think he is more handsome than any guy in that school. The MC approaches, greeting his sister's friends, and they are all amazed except Linton, who tries to remember if he was always that tall since she never noticed, and also doesn't know when he started working out, since from what she sees he is quite strong. She only remembers him on the cell phone or video game and, puzzled by this, tries to understand why he changed so much in such a short time. After that, all the girls say goodbye to Linton, and she looks to the side and sees her brother crouched down asking her to climb on him. She feels embarrassed and says she doesn't need to since she can walk alone. Inside, she doesn't understand what she's doing since she wouldn't let him carry her in front of all those people. However, the MC pulls her and puts her on his back. Then, he says that all their classmates have already left, and since she can't walk, she shouldn't exert herself, and asks if she didn't sprain her ankle when she was pushed earlier. She is surprised since she doesn't know how he noticed. After a while, they return to their house, and their parents find it strange to see him carrying his little sister, but anyway, They just say they're glad he came back. After that, the MC goes to wash the dishes, and his mother tells Linton to watch closely how Lin Yuan is behaving since he seems like a completely different person. Lin Mu agrees, since he's cooking and washing the dishes, even buying new plates and appliances for the house. The little girl just stays silent until her mother approaches and says that the relationship between the two seems to have improved, just like when they were children. She feels embarrassed hearing that, and while drinking her tea, she just wonders if he really changed. Lin Yuan announces that the dishes are washed and says he will go back to his room. He barely says that and closes the door. Linton soon feels disappointed since she knew she couldn't expect much because her brother is still the same addicted otaku as before. However, he appears in front of her with medicine and asks her to apply it after her bath since it's very good for healing. Then, he returns to his room and says he's going to play and not to enter unless it's important. She holds the medicine bottle and says she already knows she can't go in there but smiles at that attitude. Her mother reinforces once again that their relationship improved and asks what happened at school. Linton replies that nothing happened and that she will take a bath. Meanwhile, the MC is listening to everything inside his room and, lying back in his chair, imagines that the family issues have been resolved for now. Then, he looks at his virtual reality headset and puts it on since it's time to return to the game. Immediately, he goes to the main city and says it's time to hunt some rats. Now, he entered the wind sands area. At the city entrance, a man is being stepped on. This person swears by the heavens that it was a misunderstanding. However, the guard keeps stepping and tells him to shut up. At that moment, the MC appears and the guard looks back but finds it strange because he doesn't see anything even though he feels someone is there. Lin Yuan is hiding because he knows the street guards are very sensitive to criminals, and because he has sin points, he will have to carefully calculate how long he stays hidden since it will be about 3 days. He reflects that it's a good time to look for an old friend of his who is lost out in the world. Meanwhile, at the church, the priest gives his blessings saying that from this day forward, the soul will be pure like freshly fallen snow. At that moment, Lin Yuan enters saying he is from the charity infirmary. Lawrence looks confused and he says he heard that a seriously ill patient was admitted there and therefore would like to treat him. They go to a room and Wayne is lying on the bed. The MC knows that he is an old, stronger member of the Knights Order from the Old Kingdom. Then he remembers that in his past life, when he had just reached level 15, he obtained a gold-level weapon through him. That is why he is there personally saying he will treat all the wounds inside the body. Wayne looks at the MC and realizes he is a level 10 player. He stands up asking how a level 10 mage wants to do anything since the street guards are a higher level than him. However, he returns to bed because he is coughing up a lot of blood. The MC sees this and warns that the poison has already begun to corrode the internal organs, which will only get worse if he doesn't accept the treatment, and makes it clear he will not live more than a month. Wayne warns that to heal him, he would need a kilo of fish oil with rotten gills, and if he is not afraid to die, he should try his luck in the Gobi mud. A notification arrives saying that Doug Wayne's quest mission has been triggered. It is necessary to obtain 1,000 grams of rotten gill fish fat to treat the poisons. He responds that he obviously accepts. At this moment, at the mission site, level 15 rotten gill fish are attacking other players. A swordsman asks everyone to advance and warns not to let the fish bite since they have sharp teeth. But the monster throws a mud ball that hits some players directly with unmatched power. After falling into the mud, the fish begin to surround him and activate their skills, going to devour all the players. The blonde boy starts to panic since that huge creature is in front of him and he cannot believe they will really be finished. At that moment, the MC appears, grabs his clothes and throws him back, telling him to stay out of the way. Then he charges his energy and launches it toward the fish, causing a devastating explosion on that bizarre face. Then, he returns to the ground still holding the swordsman, who looks confused about what is happening since he did not understand anything. The swordsman wonders if they are really safe until he looks to the side and sees the MC charging forward with everything without even saying a word. He charges his flame powers and starts shooting the entire swamp since it is full of rotten gillfish, which are exactly what he needs for his mission. The monsters do not back down and jump out of the mud trying to counterattack Lin Yuan. The blonde boy warns to be careful, but he dodges easily and even mocks them. wanting to know if that is all they have. Then he repositions, summons one of his axes, and says that a gang is still a gang. No sooner does he say that, than he starts slicing all the fish he finds in front of him, making them into tuna. The players watching from afar cannot believe how someone can be so strong since there are 8 of them, and they were almost wiped out while a single person is fighting alone. Anyway, he remains scared since he knows the deadliest thing about those monsters are their area skills. And that is exactly what they are doing as they channel their area skills. The MC just watches a dense smoke rising from the monsters and finds it interesting since he knows the fish are casting a group skill called Echo of the Cursed Prey, which causes all enemies within range to receive a shock of toxic mist that causes negative effects of confusion and auditory hallucinations. He finds that trick interesting but says he will not fall for something like that. So he activates his Gate of Hell, summons his giant zombie wolf, and commands to use the skill howl of the hungry wolf. The zombie boss immediately starts howling, and all targets hit enter a state of dizziness. The MC decides it is time to take action and equips his awakening mask. It is a one-time defensive mask against toxic mist. He equips the item and charges forward, telling the monsters to die all at once. He starts landing critical damage on all the fish he finds in front of him and defeats them one by one until creating a huge pile of corpses. One of the remaining fish tries to escape, but he grabs his axe and throws it with all his strength, causing a devastating explosion on impact. The nearby players found it incredible what they were watching, but emphasized not to let their guard down since more fish were approaching. The MC found it interesting and ordered his Thunder Scorpion to take action. He immediately activated his skill and fired numerous thunder crystals, starting to bombard all the mud where the enemies were, but the fish were resisting the attacks well. One of the players panicked since he imagined the attacks wouldn't work and blamed the level difference, which was very large, and firmly believed it was impossible to eliminate them all at once. At that moment, Lin Yuan jumped and approached the group, questioning who said the goal of those attacks was to kill the monsters. He then put on his hood, and everyone asked to wait a moment since they noticed the scorpion's attack direction seemed to target the female fish's belly, and they started to find it strange as the males began acting oddly and soon got scared as they started devouring each other. The MC knew that whenever female rotten horses die or lay eggs, they release a large amount of muscatone, and this causes the male fish to enter rage mode and start attacking anything within reach. He warned he would take advantage of this trait to let the monsters kill each other. Suddenly, a fish that was nearby charged toward the MC, and this time it was a giant fish. Everyone panicked since they didn't imagine there could be a female fish the size of a male. Lin Yuan found it the perfect moment and ordered his ghost wolves to advance. They all started biting the monster, and it quickly began losing strength even without losing its life. The MC was surprised since even after sending all his wolves, it wasn't possible to land a fatal blow, and with his sword in hand, he was satisfied for having immobilized that fish since it made things easier. He said that and managed to kill the elite rotten horse, and upon doing so, executed an attack toward the monster's belly and grabbed some small balls that were inside, since the monster was full of them inside. The players didn't understand what he was doing, and the MC simply ordered his chief wolf to carry the fish's head somewhere else. The giant wolf started running at high speed until it reached the top of a rock. He left the head on the ground and began howling, drawing the attention of all the other monsters. A black mist started blowing through the area and attracted all the fish in that direction. The players commented that as far as they knew, the eggs had a special attraction for the male fish, and believed the MC had deliberately created a continuous source of pheromones to release against all those monsters. Lin Yuan gathered energy once again, since it still wasn't enough, and summoned his Hellgate as he would need reinforcements. His zombies now entered the action and began attacking the already weakened fish. The players questioned if that was the blue venom sac inside the male fish. The MC replied that it was exactly that, since the blue venom sac that grows inside the fish is something like capsaicin, a poisonous gas, and the fishy smell it emits forced the others to sense the danger. The fish began to retreat since all the mud around them was soaked with the blue liquid. The swordsman celebrated since the other monsters fled thanks to that strategy. Lin Yuan jumped as now all that remained was to collect the spoils. The archer confessed he still couldn't believe it, since he saw a single player completely clear that place. The blonde boy couldn't contain his excitement, since all he wanted was to cling to his new master. The MC began slicing all the remaining fish since it was time to finish the job and then return to the group. With everything he did, he earned 12,000 experience points and leveled up to level 11. He imagines that thanks to the countless experiences from his past life in that dungeon, he managed to move at great speed. In addition to admitting that the mask played a very important role in that battle and thinks it's a pity it costs 5 gold coins and can only be used once, since that's a huge loss. Next, the new drop appears in his hand. It was the jar with 1,000 grams of rotten gillfish oil. It's the ingredient for high-level healing potions and also the item for his quest. He realizes he received something else, and a red ball appears in his hand. This is the nose of the wave player. It's an armor-type item and is a spherical and elastic nose cover made from tanned, rotten gillfish skin. Its effect is that it emits rotten gillfish pheromones, causing a fear effect in small to medium aquatic creatures. He observes it for a moment and thinks that in his other life, he used to wonder why that reward was so high, or if it was the sixth sense of humor of the game designer, since it looks more like a clown nose. Immediately, the swordsman approaches and whispers in his ear, since he thought the item was cool, and with his eyes shining, he confesses that he can't hold back. Lin Yuan asks if he really liked that clown nose. He replies that he absolutely loved it and asks to buy it regardless of the price. The other players apologize since their leader is always this enthusiastic, but the MC simply throws the item into his hand, telling him to keep it, and then starts to walk away. The player asks him to wait since he wants to at least pay, but the MC just opens his imposing wings and says it's not necessary. This makes the blonde boy cry with emotion since he thinks his master is an angel. The other players don't understand how anyone would want to pay for such a ridiculous clown nose. After that, Lin Yuan returns to the church and uses the item on Doug. At that moment, he feels completely healed and confesses that he didn't expect to get that healing item. With that, the system informs that he has successfully completed the gold level quest, and the reward obtained was a gold level weapon, the Blue Soul Blade. He is happy since he finally got the first gold level weapon he obtained in his previous life. The weapon increases physical and magical damage by 150 and spirit by 100. It also has the Blue Soul Seal, which deals damage equal to 150% of the spirit to the target and has no cooldown, with only a mana cost of 10. The MC thinks those basic stats are decent, but finds the skill extremely efficient, especially the hidden effect, since each hit accumulates Blue Soul Chi in the enemy, and after 3 hits causes an additional 250% damage. He remembers that at the time it was the Blue Soul Blade that helped him cross the Western Desert until he became the #1 mage. He doesn't tire of admiring his new sword until a notification informs that he also received a reputation reward, increasing his reputation by 1,000 points in the main city, and reputation with the Manticore Knights increased by 500. He reflects that even though he reached a neutral standing like in his past life, that earned reputation is enough for activities within the main city. At this moment, he finds it strange because another notification is arriving. It was a notice stating that due to the excellence in completing the quest, he received a specific affinity reward with the NPC Doug. The affinity increased by 10 points. The MC looks at Doug and notices he's a bit different from the last time. The NPC immediately thanks him, saying that without that help, he would have died in that bed, and says he is obliged to give a warning since he received that help. Lin Yuan wonders if the 10 affinity points he received will trigger some kind of hidden quest. Doug just gives a warning, saying that that's all, folks. If you enjoy the video, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks.